She's so rotten, she wants migrants picking cotton. We present to you Democratic Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, who made this shocking argument why America needs immigrants. Roll it, Alfred.
So I had to go around the country and educate people about what immigrants do for this country, or the fact that we are a country of immigrants.
Right.
The fact is, ain't none of y'all trying to go and farm right now. Okay, so I'm lying. Raise your hands.
This is when the wheels fall off.
You're not. We done picking cotton. We are. You can't pay us enough to find a plantation.
Tyrus, I go to you for no particular reason.
When Jasmine Crockett walked onto that set, she had no idea she was stepping into a verbal trap waiting to snap shut. With a smirk on her face and a soundbite in hand, she thought she was ready. But Gutfeld and Tyrus weren't playing games. From the moment she opened her mouth, Greg Gutfeld went in like a razor-sharp missile, slicing through her rehearsed lines with sarcasm so lethal the audience could hardly breathe between gasps and laughs. Tyrus didn't wait his turn. He pounced with the precision of a heavyweight, delivering punchlines so brutal they landed like bricks on Crockett's credibility. It wasn't just a debate, it was a takedown. Crockett showed up expecting applause, but what she got was a reality check on live television. She came prepared with flashy buzzwords and that familiar political glow, but Gutfeld's sarcasm burned straight through the shine and exposed the hollow shell underneath.
I'll take it from there, Gutfeld. I'm going to explain to you what happened.
Okay.
Same thing that happened on this show.
Yes.
She got the job. That was the get the job voice. Remember when I first met you? Good evening, Gutfeld. It's
Yes.
nice to meet you. It's a real pleasure to be here. Oh, cool. Once I got the job, what it is, let's crack jokes. So that's all it is. That's all it is. You know, it's just.
Jasmine Crockett still conceals the meaning of Hot Wheels. The Texas Congresswoman still won't apologize over making fun of Texas Governor Abbott's disability. Here's what she said that kicked it off.
We in these hot-ass Texas streets, honey. Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now.
Whoa.
And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot-ass mess, honey. So,
Now she claims that she wasn't talking about Abbott's wheelchair at all. Yet she's mentioned Abbott's wheels before. In 2022, she posted Beto's rolling around the state. Where's Abbott rolling to?
Crockett tried to stay calm, but every word out of her mouth dug the hole deeper. Gutfeld raised an eyebrow. Tyrus cracked his knuckles, and the ambush intensified. When she leaned into her justice for the people rhetoric, Greg smirked and said nothing, but the silence hit harder than 1,000 rebuttals. Then Tyrus leaned in, cool and steady, and the moment he opened his mouth, Crockett visibly flinched. She knew the truth was coming and fast. Tyrus called out her contradictions with surgical flair. One moment she's for reform, the next she's tweeting about defunding, then she's begging for more policing. It was a circus of mixed messages, and they pulled back the curtain on all of it. Greg didn't just challenge her opinions, he laughed right through them. Every time she tried to rally her point, he reminded her with cutting clarity that slogans aren't solutions. The audience started reacting, and not in her favor. Every time she delivered a line, a stronger punchline came right back at her, and it left her scrambling. She reached for a serious tone, but Gutfeld wasn't buying it. He mocked her TED Talk-style delivery like it was a late-night sketch, and the crowd was eating it up. Then came the Hot Wheels moment. Crockett stumbled trying to explain a past insult aimed at Governor Abbott, and both Greg and Tyrus pounced on the inconsistency like wolves smelling fear. Her explanation made no sense, and Greg called it out right there. The look on Crockett's face said it all. She thought she was clever, but even the audience didn't buy it. Tyrus didn't hold back either.
You gotta, to get the job, you gotta leave the Negro at home and do the, what it is afternoon, and then once you get in, you can say whatever you want to say. Listen, everyone talks different with their crew and their people. Everyone has a different way of talking when they're with other people or whatever. She's too comfortable, and she thinks she's clever when she does that. But here's the cold part: somebody's writing that for her.
Yeah.
That's why she had to remember and look back, because apparently Hot Wheels she thought was going to be someone thought it was a wonderful joke and it was going to do well. So she set it up, but she doesn't read good because she's like, and this, and then she said the Hot Wheels, and as soon as she said it, it didn't get the reaction that she thought it would.
He stared straight into the camera and delivered a line so sharp, even Crockett looked stunned. It wasn't just criticism, it was a cultural slam dunk. He pointed out how she says one thing behind closed doors and another on stage. Someone's writing that for her, he said, and the audience roared because it felt painfully true. Crockett tried to recover by pivoting back to her favorite topics: equity, empowerment, reform. But Greg waved his hand and said, "We've heard it before." It was devastating. Every time she tried to sound powerful, the response from Gutfeld and Tyrus made it clear. Talk is cheap, and Crockett's speeches weren't cashing the check. The rhythm of the segment turned into a roast disguised as political commentary, and Crockett was the main course. She couldn't find a way out. As she floundered, Tyrus looked at her, shook his head, and delivered the line that sealed the moment. "Like this makes me wish my mum made different father choices." The studio erupted, and Crockett's silence was louder than anything she had said. Crockett's attempt to pivot to law and order was like watching someone try to build a house with playing cards in a windstorm. She talked tough, then backpedaled, then blurred the lines so much it vanished completely. Greg didn't even need to say much. His smirk said everything. And when he finally did speak, it was like a cannon going off. He slammed her contradiction with a line so simple, yet so effective, it stopped her cold. Tyrus followed up without missing a beat. She wants to look tough on crime, but doesn't want to define what crime is. The crowd roared as Crockett fumbled for a comeback that never came. Every attempt to explain her views on justice only exposed the cracks in her logic. She spoke in glittery generalities, but Gutfeld and Tyrus brought the receipts.
You're not. We done picking cotton. We are. You can't pay us enough to find a plantation.
Tyrus, I go to you for no particular reason. Is she making any point there?
Like this makes me wish my mom made different father choices.
And they weren't playing nice. Then came the speech comparison. Tyrus pointed out how Crockett's language sounded like a yoga retreat ad campaign instead of real leadership. "Namaste isn't policy," he fired, and Crockett froze. Greg added insult to injury by mocking her cadence. "Let's vibe check this issue," he joked, sending the audience into hysterics as Crockett stared blankly, stunned by how fast things had turned. And just when she thought it couldn't get worse, they pulled up her bill history. One by one, Tyrus listed the legislative achievements that went nowhere fast. "Lots of noise, no action," he declared. Crockett tried to speak over him, but every word she said was met with sharper counters. She kept circling back to slogans, and each time, Greg snapped back with brutal wit that made it look too easy. She finally raised her voice, but instead of gaining ground, she only made it clearer how rattled she was. Her fire was fading, and the spotlight wasn't doing her any favors. Tyrus took one last swing in that moment, pointing to her social media habits. "You don't need a resume, you've got hashtags," he joked, And the reaction said it all. It was a scorcher of a moment. Crockett tried to defend her online activism, but Greg cut in with, "Great for clout, terrible for constituents." Boom, another direct hit. She brought up her district, trying to steer things into safer territory, but Gutfeld wasn't letting her escape. "Funny," he said, "how your tweets say more than your policies." Tyrus leaned back, arms folded, then dropped one of the hardest lines of the night. "You're more about looking busy than being useful." And just like that, Crockett's composure crumbled again. At this point, the mood shifted. The crowd realized they weren't watching a political panel. They were witnessing a public unraveling, and Crockett couldn't mask it any longer. She tried to recover with a passionate rant on community empowerment. But Greg raised a brow and said, "All buzz, no blueprint." It was brutal, and Crockett looked visibly shaken.
People write, this is why when white people write black slang, weird happens.
Yeah.
And this is what happens.
Well,
Like, if I wanted to get ethnic on somebody, I wouldn't call Joe and be like, "Hey, Joe, write me some hood." No offense, Tyrus, I get right to it. Gee Willikers, that's not the guy. What? That doesn't sound like Joe Mackey?
So, Dana, Governor Hot Wheels, she claims that it had nothing to do with the fact that he actually moves by wheels in a wheelchair, and he's good looking.
Her cleanup was worse. That was one of the worst things I've ever seen. It was super dumb. So basically she's saying, I didn't do it. And even I did do it, though, we're the victims.
Tyrus, calm and collected, leaned forward and said, "Where's the plan, Jasmine? You say a lot. You post a lot. But what do you actually deliver?" She tried to pivot once more, this time claiming that criticism of her came from misunderstanding her mission. But Gutfeld wasn't buying it. "No one's confused, he said. "They're just tired of the performance." Then came the most cutting moment yet. Greg compared her to a trailer for a movie that never gets made. You show up, give us a preview, then disappear when it's time to act. The crowd gasped, then clapped. Crockett's eyes darted across the table. She realized the show wasn't hers to control anymore. She looked like a guest at her own ambush, caught in the headlights of her own contradictions. And just when you thought it couldn't go further, Tyrus dropped the closing blow of the round. "You're all fire until the questions come, and then it's smoke." Crockett looked down, and the room erupted once again. Crockett shifted in her seat, clearly trying to regain control, but her confidence had already cracked. Every word now sounded like damage control. And Gutfeld wasn't giving her a single inch. She launched into another emotional plea about marginalized communities, but Greg was locked in. "Emotion doesn't erase incompetence," he fired back, slicing through the fluff like a scalpel. Tyrus leaned forward, not to debate, but to deliver judgment. "We've heard the words before," he said, "but we're still waiting for results." Crockett blinked fast, visibly thrown. She tried to dismiss their critiques as personal attacks, but that only gave Gutfeld more ammo. "This isn't personal," he said. "This is accountability, and you're not used to it." As Crockett stammered through another explanation, Tyrus calmly called her out again. "Why does everything feel like a slogan audition?" he asked, tilting his head. "Where's the leadership?" She raised her voice, but it didn't help.
About him is that he is a hot mess, honey. So,
Of course, Crockett now claims Hot Wheels was about shipping migrants out of the state. Don't you get that? Not the governor's condition. If only there was video that perfectly encapsulates the liberal inability to land a lick on MAGA. Turns out we have one. Roll it, Bjorn.
He's a racist. How can I be racist? He's a racist. If you
I hope you enjoy the hat. Oh, she took a tackle.
Never get tired of that.
Every passionate word was met with quiet, brutal logic, and the contrast was glaring. She brought emotion. They brought receipts. The conversation pivoted to economic development, and that's when the unraveling hit full speed. Crockett tried to tout ambitious plans, but couldn't name one with substance. Greg didn't even blink. He called it instantly. "More glitter, no gold," he said, shaking his head. The studio audience erupted as Crockett scrambled for footing. She then threw out the word intersectionality like it was a lifeline, but Gutfeld rolled his eyes and replied, "Big word, small impact." The sting was real, and so was the silence that followed. Tyrus took it further, comparing her entire platform to ordering a gourmet coffee and getting warm milk. Crockett opened her mouth, but nothing came out that could stop the laughter. Gutfeld shot one final smirk and said, "You walked in with a speech. We walked in with facts. Guess which one won?" Crockett's face tightened. There was no answer that could save her now. Then came the moment that sealed the broadcast into viral history. Tyrus, calm as ever, looked her dead in the eye and said, "Jasmine, you're not the voice of change. You're the echo of a broken microphone." The audience erupted, not with applause for her, but with the stunned energy of witnessing a public undoing wrapped in live television brilliance. Crockett slumped just slightly, her usual fire dulled by the weight of being outmatched on every front: logic, tone, facts, and yes, even humor. Greg leaned forward and added one final twist of the knife. "This isn't about attacking you. It's about exposing the performance behind the politics." Tyrus nodded, then said something that hit like a freight train.
Of course, Crockett isn't the only Democrat who's opposed to interracial marriage, or else more Democrats would have voted for this one. Racist! Tyrus, I go to you for no apparent reason. Do you have an opinion on this, or should I move on to somebody?
No, I just... It has to come from me.
Yes.
Okay? None of y'all are qualified. Not just for one thing, I'm mad at Charmaine the guy because he should have kicked her out. See, the problem is that we are allowing our own culture to be openly racist and get away with it. Now, if a white person is offended by that, and they should be.
"We're not trying to silence you. We're just done pretending you're making sense." Crockett blinked hard, as if trying to hold back whatever reaction she had left. But the fight was over, and everyone in the room knew it. As the segment wrapped, Gutfeld turned to the camera and delivered the closing shot that would be clipped, shared, and replayed across every social platform within the hour. She came to debate. She left a headline. That's the story. And that's all it took. Crockett sat motionless while the studio buzzed, not with support, but with the awe of what they'd just witnessed. Tyrus added one last remark, nearly under his breath, but loud enough to echo. If political theater had a blooper reel, this would be the feature presentation. As the credits rolled, Crockett gave a forced smile that couldn't hide the damage done, because no slogan could fix the mess she'd just walked into. Backstage, the silence said it all. What was meant to be a platform became a spotlight, and that spotlight burned hotter than she was ready for. On social media, the takedown went viral within minutes. Hashtags flew, clips circulated, and headlines lit up with one word: humiliated. Analysts tried to spin it, but the raw footage didn't lie. Crockett had been dismantled, not by cruelty, but by something even more powerful: clarity. Gutfeld and Tyrus didn't just challenge her, they revealed her. And once the layers of talking points were stripped away, all that remained was empty performance. The debate was over. The audience had chosen. And Crockett's platform had crumbled in real time under the weight of its own contradictions. And so, on that stage, under the bright lights and unforgiving truth, Jasmine Crockett learned the hard way: if you walk into the lion's den with slogans and selfies, don't be surprised when the lions bite back.